I've been in this industry for about 16 years now, and I don't feel like doing anything else. I love it. I cannot think about not being a chef.
This week on Dirty Linen, we are talking about food costs, supply chains, and also just meeting interesting people and hearing what makes them tick, as we always love to do. Today's guest is Mertcan Döğüşgen. He is the chef at Little Andorra. He's born in Turkey, living now in Melbourne. I met Mertcan when he was a chef at Attica while we were doing Soup Project. I always remember Mertcan was grilling or barbecuing carrots, and this aroma of the carrots for the Attica takeaway packs was just such a feature of 2020 for me. Mertcan, it's a real pleasure to have you on Dirty Linen. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Dani. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Do you remember those carrots?
I'll never forget them. I never forget anything from Attica. Yeah, of course.
Tell me about that period for you. Why was it your job to do that? And I'm sure you did many other things in all the other hours that you were there. But what happened with those carrots?
Yeah. I reckon that's one of the memories you have, because I remember you were coming to the kitchen very early. Like maybe 4 a.m. you were coming in, and one of the first thing I needed to do was to cook the carrots and smoke the carrots. So we were using them as a vegetarian option for the souvlaki dish that we were serving on takeaways.
That's right. Yeah, the chicken. I remember having that at home, and just the beautiful aroma and that deep flavour with those big carrots. Yes.
So yeah, we were. Yeah.
Now I just feel like I want to talk a bit more about that time. Tell us about how you came to be at Attica and what it was like being there through that crazy period.
It was an amazing experience, especially going through a lockdown and then opening up again and then going into another lockdown and seeing one of the greatest chefs in our era being a great leadership, showing a great leadership around this time, and observing that was an amazing thing to start with. How I get into Attica is a whole another story that I probably don't want to take much of your time, but it was a dream come true for me. And I worked there about 2 years. I became a junior sous chef, huge achievements for me at the age of 33, 34, I was there. So it was a very important point of my life, and I remember it very well, and all about good things.
Oh, well, congratulations. It's beautiful to hear about how much those achievements meant to you. And I'm sure, it felt to me from my outside perspective that you did bring an amazing, beautiful energy to the team there. Tell us about what you're doing now at Little Andorra.
So now I'm at a small local neighborhood wine bar called Little Andorra. I've been there a year now, and we are. Luke Bresnan is the manager, is the director. He's very good with wines. So I'm covering the kitchen part of the business, I would say, and we are serving, we can say, Turkish food in there, but it's different. We get some different reactions that people are saying, like, is this Turkish food? Well, it is Turkish food because I'm cooking where I'm from, which is on the Aegean side of Turkey, which people are not very, as I see, people are not very much know that part or had the food. So yeah, that's what we are doing, more like dishes that goes well with wine, and to give people having a good time in our restaurant.
What are some of the dishes that you're enjoying making at the moment?
We have a small menu, so it's not a very complex menu. I enjoy making everything, and we also have a small team, so we basically do everything together with our chef Tom candle. So I enjoy making fava very much. Fava is a as you know in here, fava is a bean, but fava for us, we call fava for it's a name of a dish that is, I don't like to use the term dip, but that's how to describe it in here. We call them meze. So I just twisted the dish by adding some Jerusalem artichokes in it, and we use a very good amount of very nice Mount Zero olive oils. So it's just like you can dip your freshly cooked bread into it, have a sip of wine. That dish just first thing comes to my mind because it's the first course as well.
Yum. It sounds so good. What's it like for you, being in charge of the kitchen and presenting the food from your homeland?
It's amazing. It's so amazing for me. It's another dream come true for me. And Luke is giving me all the freedom that I could ever ask for, and it just boosts up my creativity and confidence in myself, which is an amazing thing as a chef. So it's pretty enjoyable, and it's just an amazing experience.
Yeah, I'm so happy to hear that. And yeah, I was really excited to hear that you'd clocked up the 1 year anniversary. It's a great achievement, especially when, the times are so interesting and challenging. It must be, it's just really a great achievement. But I suppose something that everybody's having to engage with at the moment is the rising cost of food. How much is that impacting you, and what are you doing about it?
Well, that is affecting, it affects us just like it affects any other business or any other industry, as far as I see. What we have done with that, we have reduced our we made a new menu, and we reduced our courses, and also we reduced our price. So we wanted to be more approachable to people and to our regular guests, rather than serving them a five-course meal with 3 amuse-bouche to start with. We are now doing 3 courses for a reduced price, and we didn't want to reduce the portions. We are still serving generous. We're being generous. That's one of my goal that I learned from Ben Sherry, to be generous on the food, and that's one of the things that we have done recently. About a month or 2 ago, we adapt to the menu very well, and it's going good. We're having good feedbacks about it, and we're getting a lot of calls from the suppliers as well. Suppliers also missing some of the stuff. They also have some other issues with the prices, but we're trying to manage. Since we have a smaller menu, we are pretty flexible, and we just adapt and continue to move on.
Yeah, that's so interesting to, when a lot of people are thinking about raising prices or wondering if they're going to be able to, if their customers will deal with it, you've found a way to actually charge less. That's really interesting. I mean, do you feel, you said you've had a good response to it. Do you think that customers are sort of specifically understanding that you've found this workaround, or do you think it's just that they just love the food?
We have some good feedbacks. Yeah, I think people adapt to it. People understand. We have, I can say, the guests that we have are quite always nice people, and we've had good some feedbacks, and we've been looking like they're enjoying their time in Little Andorra, the food and the wine and everything, all the service, because I like to look at it as a whole package rather than just the kitchen. So yeah, it looks like people are enjoying it.
Yeah, it's great. I was chatting to a baker. Well, in fact, I don't think has Zelda opened while you were still at Attica?
No, but I heard them. They're opened in Ripley, right?
Yeah, so just down the road from Attica, Zelda has opened, and I was chatting to Mariasha, the owner, who's actually been on the podcast a couple of times, and she was talking about, the price of spinach has gone up $10 a box, and so her customers were asking her, why don't you have the spinach and cheese pastry? And so she explained, this is how much extra I would have to pay. I would have to charge you more. What do you want me to do? And she said people were saying, make it, we'll pay more. But I thought that was really interesting. It's like, to have those conversations with customers. I mean, that's a pretty granular, detailed one, but, not every food business can do that. But I think it's interesting to think, well, everybody's subject to these same, cost pressures. Everybody has to engage with food in some way and can see that some things are getting more expensive. I wonder if, being more transparent in the way we communicate about the cost of food is part of the solution.
Yes, yeah, I completely agree, because we sometimes we spend so much time in the kitchen and in our industry, and we sometimes, I think, expect people to understand what's going on at the back. But I think it's not that fair that people have our guests who are coming working in other industries, and I don't know about their industries. I have no idea about the prices of what they're doing. So same with us. We just want to be not putting so to say pressure to our guests or know about the food costs much. But yeah, it definitely affects us.
I suppose, over the COVID times, businesses, hospitality especially, has become a bit more transparent, or, they've sort of explicitly asked their communities for help when it's been needed. I think there has been a lot more, I guess, removing the curtain that's protected the inner workings of hospitality businesses. So I suppose in a way this is just another part of that another part of the inner workings of a business that are revealed. But I think, as you say, you don't want to, completely take the magic away and, show people a spreadsheet and, here's a spreadsheet and here's your dinner and, hope you can enjoy it. It's a tricky balance between, I guess, that sort of openness that leads to understanding, but also, still wanting to deliver that seamless, beautiful, generous hospitality experience.
Yeah. I see it as sometimes I see what we do as a performance art, especially now that we have a small team. And I think about performance art as when you see it, actors or actresses, they're just like, they have to be there. They have to be doing their acts. They have to get ready for it. And when they come to the stage, they don't talk about, I have to pay my bills or this and that. The price of the show is just price of the show is different of what the performance is. So I sometimes find balance from, not balance, but like similarities from performance art, sports, athletes, and just like one of the things that comes to my mind now.
Yeah, absolutely. Mertcan, I know that, we complain about inflation in Australia, but the situation in Turkey is much more challenging. I think I read there was 70% inflation in Turkey this year. What are you hearing from people back home about the way the economy is affecting people?
Yeah, it's of course affecting everyone in Turkey very badly. With all my friends that I'm talking to, they are speaking about these things that are going wrong or with the economy. But if we talk as someone as born in Turkey and I was raised in there, what I understand after moving to Australia, seeing that Turkey has never been a country that has a stable economy. It it's always had some ups and downs. It has never been stable. So the thing that is happening at the moment, as I understand, because I'm quite far away and I haven't been home for a long time due to COVID and other things, but I can say, as I'm speaking to a person who hasn't been to Turkey, I can say that it's never been a stable economy, and it's just things are bad now. And it looks like it's going to go worse. But yeah, it just affects everything. It affects the food industry. It affects the social life, education, the most important thing. It affects the youth. It's affecting people badly.
I'd love to dig in a little bit to, your background and what's taken you along this pathway to being a chef and being in Australia. Can you tell me a little bit about your background?
Yeah, of course. So I was, as I said, I was born in Turkey and I was raised in Turkey. I can easily say that my family has never been a traditional Turkish family. And my father is a former basketball player who was playing at the highest level at his time in 70s and 80s. My mom was a model who was also doing her. She was also at a high level. So I was born, I can say, into a privileged family in Turkey. But again, this can be a good example that the economy is not stable. And so we have gone through so many ups and downs. So that's pretty much my early background. And the food has always been a big part of our family. My mom always used to cook at home for us. And I remember helping her so many times, and she was telling me about the stories. I feel like these are so classic stories. I sometimes get bored about these stories, but I'm just going to cut this one short. So I was helping her, but one of the details that my mom used to have a knife that I've never seen in any. When I go to my friends' houses, I was seeing my friends' moms. They were using a small. My Turkish friends will understand what I mean now. They were using like this knife that has a plastic handle, and it's like a fruit knife. That's the traditional thing that you use. My mom used to use a German Henkel's Zwilling chef knife, and that knife that she was using, I was interested in using it in middle school, in high school. I chopped off my fingers a few times. This is way before I wasn't even thinking of becoming a chef or anything. I was a teenager, and long story short, I was at the age of 19. I was doing some competitive boxing, and I was just trying to decide what to do with my life, and cooking was always there. And then one day I was traveling between two cities, from Izmir to Istanbul, to visit my dad, and on the bus, the guy next to me, an old man, was reading a newspaper, and then he turned the page. I just looked at my eye on one of the pages, and half of the page there was an advertisement of a university, Yeditepe University in Istanbul, who they put this advertisement saying that they're looking for candidates for their gastronomy and culinary arts faculty under the fine arts. And I got so excited. I asked the gentleman to gently rip the half of the newspaper, and he said okay, and I put it in my pocket. And when I went to Istanbul, I realized that they're doing these exams. Since they are under the Faculty of Fine Arts, it was required some drawing skills, and I did that. It was a huge achievement. I got accepted, and I started university, and I was there for 5 years. During that time, I worked at some restaurants in summers, and And yeah, I done some trips to Paris, to New York. I did I did my bookings to 3 Michelin star restaurants. I packed my suit. I went to these restaurants: Guy Savoy, Pierre Gagnère, Robuchon, Le Bernardin, Perse, Thomas Keller. It was just those guys were like my rock stars, and I was quite obsessed with Michelin-starred restaurants. This is when I was 19 to 24. So yeah, long story short, after my graduation, I wanted to go to one of these restaurants. I sent 27 emails to different restaurants around the world, applied as a commis chef, but I couldn't manage to get any acceptance because of the visa situation. So I learned about what the passports are, what nationalities means, and what's going on. So I just that was a harsh truth. And then I stayed in Turkey. I started working for airline catering. I became a chef trainer in there. And then one of my very good friends, Egemert and Elif, they moved to Australia, to Melbourne, and they were always telling me that, you had to come here, you had to see this place, this is amazing, you're going to love it, because they know me very well. And with their advice, I applied for my permanent residency as a skilled migrant, and I got my visa after 13 months of applications, back and forth, documents and things like that. And I moved to Australia, and I've been here for 4 years now.
Oh my goodness, that is an amazing story. So that's so great. I didn't realize that you came here with your permanent residency. That's fantastic. So I'm so interested that gastronomy was under fine arts. So that's a quite different structure to the way it is done here. And it's so interesting that you needed to draw to get into it in the first place. I mean, is that a normal thing in Turkey that that people study cooking in an arts faculty, and what difference do you think it makes when you come to it from that direction?
Yeah, it's not a common thing. At the time, if I'm not mistaken, it was the first 4 years of education that you can get and get a bachelor's degree under the fine arts faculty. It was the first in the world, not just in Turkey. I don't know how it went now. I'm talking about 2006. So at the time, the faculty was open only for 2 years, if I'm not mistaken. So I was one of the first students who entered. So yeah, it's not a common thing. But what I can say is it was an amazing experience to be under the fine arts, because I've always been very much interested in arts and drawing and painting. I had so many good friends from other faculties, from interior designers, from painters or graphic designers, and I took some other classes with those friends out of my gastronomy classes. I was joining them, and I was meeting with these people. It was a very good experience. Now that I'm thinking about it, it was very nice.
It's so interesting, because even thinking back to, the analogy you made with performance art, when you think about, running a restaurant, it's sort of, it really makes me wonder what kind of, broad perspective it gives you to study gastronomy in that sense. But I suppose it also makes me think of, Turkish cuisine has such an extraordinary history, and, the palace cuisine is so elaborate, and it is very much an art and honoured as such in Turkish culture. I mean, it's really interesting, very fascinating journey.
Yeah, it is.
What do you think about that whole sort of Michelin thing now? You've had, I suppose, the Australian equivalent of it in Attica, but I'd say that's definitely not a traditional fine dining restaurant, and now you're working in a wine bar doing, food that's very close to your heart. Like, sort of, how do you see those sort of higher echelons of gastronomy these days?
How I see it, I don't know how much my view would count on this, but I can say, as I grow. As I'm growing up, or I'm getting older, my thoughts and my look at the food is just, I don't know if evolving is the right word, because it just change. It changes as we all change. So my view now for Michelin star restaurants, or let's say not just Michelin but high level restaurants, they have so much passion behind them. They are not businesses that are built for making money. So there's so much passion and emotion behind those businesses. Because if you want to make money, you don't spend hours every day and think about, if you want to make money, you go to Wall Street or something. So that's the biggest difference, as I see that. There's so much passion, and sometimes with that passion we can be, as chefs, we can be a quite bit more emotional with the food that we do, and we can sometimes forget about the cost of the food. Now that touches a bit of our subject today, but I love it. It's something that I love and I respect so very much. But I can say it is completely different. Completely different may not be the right word, but it is different at what we are doing at Little Andorra, because it's when you desire that high level of food, when you want to reach to that level, you really need to make a lot of sacrifices from your life and from many things in your life or your people around you. It's something that I'm always questioning, if I will be ready to do that, especially now that I have a son, 16 months old, Levent. I love him so dearly. When Levent came to our life, my whole passion and my whole view on life changed. Everything I'm thinking about the future now is about how I can attend to every activity that Levent does in the future, in the elementary school or middle school, or when he tells me like, "Oh, Baba, I need you today," or like this week. Well, the restaurant, I have to go. Like, these are the things that I'm thinking. What we are doing, I can say shortly that we want people to have a good time when they come to the restaurant and enjoy the food and talk about the food, but I don't want the food to be the main thing or anything else. Just having a good time, because people take their time, leave their houses, put on clothes, get on traffic, goes all the way to these restaurants and spend hours. They give their time as well. So being aware of it as well, we just want people to have a delicious, cozy, happy, good time.
Wow, such big life questions and issues that you bring up, and that I suppose are entwined in all these actions and activities and decisions. But yeah, it is so interesting. I suppose it's you sort of you want to honor the commitment and the fact of being a father, but honouring the guests that take the time and spend the money to come to the restaurant. It's I suppose it's going to be a balance that will always need attention and probably shift one way or the other over time. But really, it's just big, isn't it? It doesn't get bigger than those questions.
Yeah, it is. I think about these every day on my way to work, every day when I come back. Yeah, and I find it healthy because I've been in this industry for about 16 years now, and I don't feel like doing anything else. I love it. I cannot think about not being a chef. I quite enjoy it. But I'm also looking for a way to find to spend more time with my loved ones. But I understand that when you do something when you do something that is this much dedicated, it's just hard to find the balance. Yeah.
I mean, it makes me think of your father, the basketball player at such a high level. I mean, what was the balance? Was there balance for him, or was it just not possible?
No, there was absolutely no balance, especially with my dad. He has many championships in the club leagues and also with the national team as well. So he was always either on the road or he was either in another country playing for the national team or in another city playing with his own team. So he was traveling a lot, and we were traveling a lot too. I appreciate everything that my dad did for us, and I see him as a good example. I love him so dearly, but it's just different when you do something at a high level, and you just can't find the balance. I think there's no control over that balance.
I mean, there are sacrifices. And I suppose when you're playing a team sport and, you're in a certain industry, it's like it's probably pretty hard to say, oh, actually, it's Mertcan's concert today, so I'm afraid I won't be able to play the game against Greece. And I suppose, the hospitality industry has been having a similar reckoning. It's obviously, small businesses and, it's different, but I think they're the same questions, aren't they? Everyone's trying to find the right balance in their life. But yeah, we'll never stop thinking about these things. Mertcan, I've just loved chatting to you. So enjoyable and really rich conversation. Is there anything else that you'd like to say?
No, I'm very happy. I'm very happy that you've invited me. It's been very nice to chat with you. That's something that I wanted to do for since these lockdowns. So I'm very happy to have a chat with you. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Well, I'll see you at Little Andorra, hopefully before too long.
Yes, we can't wait. See you.
This is Dirty Linen, and I'm Dani Valent. We air the issues that the hospitality industry finds hard to talk about, hearing from different people with unique perspectives. We want to hear from you as well. If you have something that needs to be said about a topic, get in touch so we can include your perspective. Contact us at dirtylinen@deepintheweeds.com.au or hit us up on Insta at Dirty Linen Podcast. We can't wait to hear from you.